Hello everyone and welcome to my B&B Fan Club channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Bill's jaw tightened, his gaze locked on the empty bed where Luna had lain. The linens were still rumpled from her fight, a painful reminder of her existence. He did not believe it. Not for 1 second. Luna had a habit of disappearing, only to emerge with a sly smile and a fresh plan. She'd faked her death twice previously, by his reckoning, and each time she delivered an Oscar-worthy performance. The first time, she left following a rumored car accident, leaving behind a destroyed vehicle and a trail of gossip. The second, a drowning tragedy off the coast, had everyone in Los Angeles reeling until she returned to town, her hair a shade darker and her story flimsier than before. Bill had learned not to believe her ends. This felt like another act, a twist in Luna's never-ending drama. He crossed his arms, his tailored suit creasing slightly, and said quietly, "She's done this before. She'll do it again." Finn, on the other hand, was falling apart. His broad shoulders shook as he leaned against the wall, burying his face in his hands. Tears flowed down his fingers, each sob producing a raw guttural sound that echoed around the quiet room. Finn, the dependable doctor, the man who always kept things together, was broken. He'd been there for the birth, holding Luna's hand while she screamed through the agony, her grip firm and desperate. He'd seen the sparkle in her eyes as she gazed at her newborn daughter, a brief moment of pure love before her body betrayed her. The physicians diagnosed it as a postpartum hemorrhage, a rare but severe condition. Finn had attempted to save her, his medical knowledge taking effect even as his heart screamed in protest. However, the blood loss was too significant and quick. She left before he could grasp what had happened. The infant, swaddled in a lovely pink blanket, slept sweetly in the nursery down the hall, unaware of the upheaval her birth had caused. Finn could not force himself to look at her yet. When he thought of her tiny face, Luna's features looked back, those sharp cheekbones, that stubborn light in her eyes. He couldn't reconcile the joy of her birth with the anguish of Luna's passing. It felt like treachery to feel anything other than pain. Bill walked the room, his polished sneakers clicking on the linoleum. "This doesn't add up," he stated quietly but firmly. "Luna doesn't simply die. She plans, manipulates, and controls the story. You're telling me she went through all that, carried a child for 9 months, pushed her out, and then checked out? No way." His eyes tightened, as if Luna could emerge from behind a curtain, laughing at the carnage she'd wrought. Finn raised his head, his eyes red and puffy. "She's gone, Bill," he explained, his voice shaking. "I was there. I saw it. The monitors went flat. Her pulse was gone. I tried." His voice broke and he put his fist over his mouth, attempting to hide another sob. "I tried everything." Bill paused and fixed Finn with a stern glare. "You are a doctor. You are aware that people can fake vital signs, slow the heart rate, and experiment with the equipment. She has done this before, Finn." Finn's anguish turned to anger. He pushed off the wall, reducing the distance between them. "Don't you dare," he growled. "Don't you dare make this one of your conspiracy theories. Luna is not some genius playing chess. She was a mother. She was my—" He paused, the words hanging in his throat. He had no idea what Luna meant to him anymore. Friend? Lover? Complication? Their relationship had always been fraught with devotion and treachery, but in those dying moments none of that mattered. She stared at him with clarity and trust, and now she was gone. Bill did not flinch. "You are too near to this, Finnegan. You're not thinking clearly. Luna has a track record. I'm telling you, she's out there someplace, probably drinking a cocktail and plotting her big reveal." The tension in the room was palpable, a collision of astonishment and grief. Outside, Los Angeles buzzed about, unconscious of the catastrophe taking place in the hospital. The city had seen its fair share of drama, affairs, betrayals, and corporate games, but this was unique. If Luna's death was real, it created a gap in the lives of everyone she touched. In the weeks that followed, the Forrester mansion became a battleground for emotions. Finn's wife, Steffi Forrester, attempted to anchor him, but his grief was a barrier she couldn't break through. She'd never trusted Luna, viewing her as a wild card who caused problems wherever she went. But seeing Finn like this, hollow, distant, made her wonder if she'd underestimated Luna's impact. She hugged their children tightly, glad for their warmth, but her heart hurt for Finn, who appeared to be slipping away with each passing day. Bill, meantime, hired a private investigator to look into Luna's alleged death. He searched through hospital records, questioned staff, and even found the paramedics who had brought her in. Every lead turned up empty, but Bill's suspicions intensified. He'd built an empire off his instincts, and they were screaming that Luna was out there, plotting her next move. He hid his findings from Finn, knowing the doctor couldn't handle the uncertainty. But late at night, in his enormous apartment, Bill combed through images and documents, looking for flaws in Luna's account. Willow, named after Luna's favorite tree, sparked a quiet custody struggle. Luna's mother, Poppy, emerged after years of estrangement, claiming the right to raise her grandchild. Finn battled her, claiming Luna would have wanted him to protect Willow. The courts were involved, and the proceedings were nasty, with each side digging into the other's history. Poppy's background of addiction and abandonment was exposed, and Finn's emotional instability was questioned. Bill stayed out of it, but he observed from the sidelines, his thoughts still focused on Luna's disappearance. Months passed and Finn's anguish became a dull ache. He immersed himself into his career, working long hours at the hospital and attempting to save lives to compensate for those he couldn't. Willow became his anchor, her gummy smiles and inquiring eyes reminiscent of Luna's soul. But every milestone, Willow's first word, her first steps, came with a sting of grief. Finn would look at her and see Luna, and the weight of their separation threatened to destroy him. Bill's investigation was unsuccessful, but he never gave up hope that Luna was still alive. He'd catch glimpses of women who resembled her, a flash of black hair in a crowd, a giggle that seemed too familiar, but they were never her. Or were they? He had doubts, but he refused to show them. To the world, Bill Spencer was unbreakable, a man who bent reality to his will. But in private, he grappled with the notion that he was mistaken, that Luna had genuinely died, and that he had lost something he couldn't identify. One evening, while Finn was tucking Willow into her crib, his phone vibrated with a text message from an unknown number. It was just one word. Sorry. His heart stopped. He focused on the screen, his thumb hovering above the reply button. Could not be her. It was impossible. But as he glanced at Willow sleeping quietly, he felt a spark of hope or perhaps fear. Was Bill correct? Was Luna out there pulling the strings? Or was this yet another bitter twist in a never-ending story? The truth remained elusive, a shadow just beyond reach. Los Angeles continued on, its beauty and grit intact, but Luna's absence remained a raw scar for Finn and Bill. Whether she was dead or living, her presence stayed, like a ghost following them everywhere. And in the quiet times, when the city slowed and the stars shone brightly above, they both wondered if they'd ever know the whole story, or if Luna, in her infinite complexity, had carried it with her to the grave. Luna had always been a force of nature. Even in her quietest moments, there was a brightness in her eyes that caused the shadows to bend slightly, as if the universe itself couldn't resist her presence. Her laughter was sweet and lingered long after she stopped, and her whispers could soften even the hardest hearts. However, on a bright fall evening, after the long, painful journey of bringing life into the world, Luna's heart failed. The news struck Bill like a cold, unforgiving wave. He'd known Luna for years, admiring her from afar at first, then closer, as circumstances twisted their lives together in ways neither could have anticipated. Her death seemed unbelievable. He had only visited her in the hospital a few hours earlier, holding her hand and whispering promises he wasn't sure he could make, and now she had left. However, a nagging thought lingered in the back of his mind. Luna had previously faked her death. Could it happen again? Could the vivacious, volatile lady who had stolen his heart have vanished without a trace, leaving everyone to lament a lie? Finn was beside himself. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he sat in the quiet chamber, which smelled vaguely of antiseptic and roses, the remains of Luna's favorite bouquet. He felt hollow, as if the oxygen around him had been taken from his lungs. How could someone who was so full of life die? The infant, their delicate little link to Luna, slept blissfully in a nearby crib, oblivious to the anguish that had entered the room. Finn's arms wanted to grab Luna and beg her not to abandon him, but he knew she was beyond his reach. Bill watched Finn struggle and couldn't shake the suspicion that Luna had organized something beyond comprehension. She was intelligent, resourceful, and occasionally completely surprising. In moments of sorrow, he had witnessed her depart, leaving only whispers and inquiries. The thought that she might have done it again made his stomach turn, though part of him refused to believe it. It was impossible, he told himself. She was gone. The days that followed were a blur of funeral preparations, condolences, and hushed sobbing from Finn's corpse. Friends and family came and went, offering comfort, but none could truly understand the magnitude of his grief. He strolled through the home in a stupor, caressing the furnishings she had adored and inhaling the aroma of her perfume that lingered in the corners, hoping against logic that she would emerge from the shadows with a wicked smile and a murmured apology. But Luna did not arrive. Bill's mistrust deepened, but he tried to hide it beneath polite sympathies and incredulity. He observed Finn closely, noting how the younger man bore the weight of grief with almost excruciating sensitivity. There was no evidence of deception, no indication that Luna had planned another departure, but the seed of mistrust had been planted. Every unexpected noise, every shadow that appeared to move, made him shiver with memories of Luna's previous tricks. Finn allowed himself to crack one evening as he sat alone in the nursery with the baby sleeping in his arms. The tears fell in torrents, hot and merciless, and he screamed Luna's name over and over, as if saying it out would bring her back. "I don't know how to do this without you," he told the empty room, his voice raspy. "I don't know how to keep going." The infant's tiny fingers curled around his thumb, anchoring him in a fragile reality, but it was a meager consolation. Nothing could replace her love, laughter, or presence. Bill confronted Finn one morning, the strain in his voice revealing the fear he tried to hide. "Finn, do you really believe she's gone?" he inquired carefully. "We know what occurred previously." Finn's eyes were filled with anguish and rage as he spoke about Luna. "How do you even say that?" he demanded. "She is gone. She is never coming back. Giving birth does not mean you're no longer alive. She's my wife, Bill. She's my everything. And now she's gone and you—" He choked on the words, unable to finish. Bill swallowed, feeling a stinging ache of shame mingled with a persistent voice of mistrust. He sincerely wanted to believe Finn. But Luna's background cast a disturbing shadow, a reminder that even the most fragile truths can be distorted by deft hands. He pushed himself to nod, to appear supportive, despite feeling torn between pain and skepticism. The months passed slowly. Finn became completely absorbed in caring for the infant, with each minor milestone serving as a heartbreaking reminder of what had been taken away from him. The baby's first smile, giggle, and the way it reached for him with trusting hands all contained Luna's soul, but none of them could fill the vacuum. Nights were the most difficult. He would lie awake, listening to the baby's gentle breathing, and imagine Luna alongside him, embracing them both and murmuring that everything would be well. But every morning reality blasted back, harsh and unrelenting. Bill paid occasional visits, and while the tension never completely eased, he attempted to be a consistent presence. He brought meals, gave advice, and occasionally sat in quiet, the unspoken question remaining between them. Was Luna actually gone, or had she contrived her own departure once more? The doubt gnawed at him relentlessly, but no evidence appeared to support his fears. Luna had left entirely, leaving nothing but memories and regret. Finn began writing letters to Luna, spilling his heart out on paper in an attempt to feel closer to her. He described the baby's milestones, little successes, and pain. He wrote of his own suffering, worries, and loneliness which crushed at his chest. He sometimes read the letters aloud, as if Luna could hear him through some hidden conduit, and that brought him some consolation, even if only little. On a rainy afternoon, Finn found himself roaming over the old garden they had worked together. The flowers were wild and untamed, but the aroma of her beloved jasmine lingered in the air. He went on his knees in the damp clay, hands buried in the dirt, and let himself cry freely. The sky sobbed alongside him, and for a brief moment, it seemed as if Luna's ghost floated just outside the curtain, watching, soothing, waiting. In the quiet moments, Finn began to notice the signs she had left behind. Not only photographs or letters, but also the way the house felt alive with her memories. A half-finished sketch on the wall, the subtle hum of music that reminded him of her, and the way the late afternoon sunlight fell across her favorite chair. Luna was gone, but she had left bits of herself behind, delicate and durable, to guide him and their kid forward. Bill, however, struggled with the reality of Luna's disappearance. He had suspected, worried, and doubted, but he soon realized that life could not be lived under suspicion. Luna's decisions, whatever they were no longer his to dispute. What remained was the obligation to nurture Finn, honor Luna's memory, and acknowledge the frailty of human existence, however lovely and ephemeral it was. Finn's grief began to heal over time, slowly and relentlessly. The baby's laughter became louder, their presence more forceful, and Finn noticed glimpses of delight sneaking back into his life. He began to smile without shame, imagining a future filled with both promise and sadness. And while the sorrow of Luna's absence never went away completely, it became a hallowed echo that reminded him of the strength of love. On peaceful nights, when the home was quiet and the baby slept sweetly, Finn would sit by the window and talk to Luna as if she were right next to him. "I miss you," he whispered. "Every day. But I will keep going for us. For our baby. You are always with me, Luna. Always." Even though she didn't respond, the air felt warmer, the shadows softer, and the weight on his heart a little lighter. In the end, Luna's life made an unforgettable impression. It was a narrative of love, sorrow, and tenacity, of pain that threatened to engulf and hope that would not die. She had died, leaving behind tears and unanswered questions, but also a legacy of love that would live on through Finn and their kid. The world had lost Luna, but the world she had touched, through laughter, generosity, and the remarkable depth of her spirit, would remember her forever. And so life went on, fragile and lovely, formed by absence and remembrance, sadness and love intermingled. Finn discovered that the heart could hold both sadness and hope, that the dead might live on in those who remembered them, and that love, even in the darkest circumstances, was a light that refused to go out. Luna was gone, true, but she lived on in a child's laughter, whispered promises to a ghost, and quiet moments of reflection. Unseen, untouchable, but eternally present.